Hello, welcome to Dinara, the highest Croatian mountain with the highest peak signal, or also called Dinara, 1835 meters, somewhere up there. Right now I am in abandoned village Mirkovići, from where usually hikes start. I will go by so-called yogurt path. It's more than 1000 meters uphill. And today I will try to get to mountain shelter Drago Prgin, and tomorrow, or maybe even today if I will have time, to the top of Dinara. It's majestic mountain. It's mountain which is the topic of Croatian writings and poems since Middle Ages. It's very wild mountains, almost without any civilization or anything here. But it's beautiful mountain, it's worth visiting, it's highest peak of Croatia. So let's go! Dinara is not only the highest Croatian peak, but also one of the most majestic and desolate mountains. Situated on the border zone between Croatia and Bosnia and Herzegovina, Dinara represents a mountain that separates the Bosnian hinterland and Croatian Dalmatia, Mediterranean and mountainous inland of Balkan. The southwestern rock of Dinara, several hundred meters high, amazes with its size and fascinates the eyes of everyone who finds himself at its feet. Rich flower meadows and forests that covers vast areas of Dinara Massif displays a genuine natural beauty in otherwise waterless scars. Currently, Dinara is the youngest nature park in Croatia and after Velebit the biggest one. Protected area covers massifs of Dinara, Troglav and Kamešnica, as well as Cetina River Spring and surrounding karst fields. There are a few different ascents towards top of Dinara. One quite popular is from Knin. It's quite long but not so steep. Another one is from Vrhova and Glamoč. It's quite scenic, but probably most popular is from here, from Mirkovići village, mostly because of this amazing view on Dinara mountain, on these cliffs and so on. Although Dinara is not the tallest mountain of Dinarid mountains, whole range is called after Dinara because it's the most characteristic. It looks dominant, like a guardian between Bosnian hinterlands and Dalmatia. And today it's a mountain which is still quite little developed, even though it's since 2021 nature park and it's protected. There is almost no settlements on the mountain. Even around the mountains there are some remains of shepherds' houses, so it's just mountains for hikers, wild animals and nature. Just right next to the path we have example of typical Balkanic Croatian, actually shepherd's house. It's called stan. It's the synonym for flat in Croatian language. It's built from stones, so let's see one. It's Bukvin stan. It looks like it's still in use even. For first like 1 hour something, path is very exposed until we get altitude around 800 meters. Then it starts to be more covered with forest, which should later get a little bit more dense. And then again, when we will be closer to the top, it will get to the open, windy, harsh Dinaric ridge, and it will be this by which Dinara gave name to all Dinaric mountains. This part of the trail is called, like I said, Yogurt Trail, because it's sometimes marked with some remains of yogurt. Some people think it's interesting because it's unique, some people say it's just a garbage in the mountain. I don't know, I prefer ordinary markations with colors and not with plastic, but everybody have a right on his own opinion. After 900 meters altitude, or almost 2 hours of hiking, it started to be really forest. It started to look more, for now, alpine scenery, and later I guess it will be typical Dinaric rough terrain. From one hiker which I met on the way, I heard that it's quite windy on the top, but it's expected because it's middle of September, it's not anymore summer, but it's good because I would not like to hike this part until now in middle of the day in July or August, because here it's hot like infernal. It's usually over 40 degrees in a valley around Knin, and although on top of Dinara it's usually around 20 or even less, you need to get there. So either you start extremely early in the morning, either you just don't go. After like 1,350 meters altitude, or like for me it was almost 3 hours of hike. Normally I guess it's like 2.5, 2:45 if you're faster and made some breaks. It start to be more open terrain, more mountainous, less forest, but views are spectacular, both on the mountains. Fortunately now it's under the sun, but it's on the whole valley and far away to the sea. After like 3.5 hours I reached shelter Briggen. I have still like 300 meters uphill until Dinara Peak, the highest peak of Croatia. It's still like 1 hour, 1.5 hour until sunset, and I will try to get there before sunset, maybe even try to get back here sunset. I really like this mountain hut and place where it is. It's like 1 kilometer but 300 meters uphill. It will be challenging. I left my backpack and everything here in the shelter. My Grace is really working hard to make hike to highest peak demanding, even if highest peak of Croatia is not so high like many other summits of other countries, even around. Take a look on this path. It's almost vertical. Brigin Shelter is one of the newest shelters in Croatian mountains, and it's very well maintained. It's made by container which is covered with wood. I will show you now how it looks like inside. There's like oven, there are like all possible things for cooking and heating, first aid kit, then there is even shoes if you need, table for dinner, even guitar, flag of the mountain club which is running the shelter, and there up is a place for sleeping. It's very basic but have everything you need. As you can see, there are some sponges. There you can put your sleeping bag if you forget. There are even some from them, which is, I suggest you don't use because it's someone's property and it's not nice to take someone else's property. But in case you are really cold and you forget a guest, they will not be angry. Great job from Hrvatski planinarski klub Sveti Mihovil from Šibenik. Congratulations. After night in mountain shelter, slowly going downhill, but this time I go first to mountain hut Brezovac. Yeah, I'm very close now. There was amazing views on the way, on typical Dinaric landscape. I didn't make any talking because it was also windy. And I hope I will go also to Badaň. It's not so high peak, it's 1200 something, I think 25, right, exact. But it has very nice views and it's worth seeing if I'm already here in Dinara. Before going back down to the valley, I decided to visit also Peak Badaň. It's a very nice viewpoint on Knin and other mountains around. It's nice view on the Dinara top. Amazing view on this valley, which is now behind me. And also on other mountains around, including Velebit, Biokovo, on Peruća Lake. Really, wherever you watch, is fabulous view. So if you visit Dinara and Sinjal, it's like 2 hours more hiking to the side and really worth going to Badaň. On the end I visited Mountain Hut Brezovac, which is also very nice and quite well organized, since here is no water, no electricity, and not so easy access. Although you can come here if you have some very good terrain car, but don't do this, it's better to hike here. Exactly when I was there, Croatian Mountain Rescue Service had training exercises and some exams, so I didn't make any recordings inside, but thankfully, because they're really great people, I got free dinner, so I don't need to search for lunch when I come back to the valley. Now I have still like 2 or 3 more hours, mostly downhill, from parallel path to this yogurt path which I took for uphill yesterday, and it should be mostly through the forest, although there was some forest fire, so we will see how terrain look like. I hope it's not much damaged nature, but forest fires are a big problem in Croatia during the summer, and unfortunately mountains are often victims. I'm slowly coming back to Mirkovići village from where I started. Dinara is right behind me, monumental like always, and it was like 2 days trip. You can do it in 1 day if you start very early. I started quite late, but I wanted to visit also this Badaň Peak, which it's really beautiful because of amazing views. And what to say, beautiful mountain Dinara, the highest mountain in Croatia. What is interesting, the highest peak of Dinara is more on the south, and it's for like half kilometer into Bosnia. And the most popular ascents to Troglav, the highest peak of Dinara, are from Croatia, and you actually illegally cross the border. But actually the highest peak of Croatia is right there on top of Dinara mountain, Sinjal, or sometimes even called just Dinara. It was very demanding hike uphill, also demanding downhill because it's a lot of stones and not easy to walk on such terrain, especially when you go downhill. It's could be hard for knees, but I had nice weather. It's terrain with great views and a lot of wilderness, nice nature, simply mountains like it should be.